What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So tomorrow on Wednesday, the Fed is going to decide whether or not they're going to cut rates. Probably they're not, but this will affect the price of Bitcoin. So I want to talk about what's going on with the news. We have some really huge stories, including JP Morgan getting into the stablecoin world, and then the Senate passing the Genius stablecoin bill, which is related, right? First, though, I just want to start out with the prices. So the crypto market is down 4.3%. Bitcoin is hovering around $105,000. We have the altcoins not doing great today. For the week, still down. For the month, it's kind of half and half, okay? So I'll talk about why in just a moment, but first right here. So from Coinbase, says JP Morgan is bringing banking on chain. Connexus by JP Morgan is launching JPMD, a USD deposit token for institutional clients on Base. It will be the first token of its kind on a public blockchain, enabling fast, secure 24/7 money movement between trusted parties. JPMD is a permissioned bank deposit token issued by JP Morgan and will be available exclusively to approved institutional clients. JP Morgan chose Base to take advantage of sub-second, sub-cent transactions for their clients, giving institutions access to near-instant settlement and real-time liquidity. Moving money should take seconds, not days. Commercial banking is coming on chain. So this is a really big deal, which I'll get to in a second, because, JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, he has been saying for a long time, he's not really a fan of Bitcoin, but he's a fan of blockchain. And ultimately, it's about what is the narrative that he wants to promote that will make him the most money. I mean, that's just kind of how it is, in my opinion. Nonetheless, here we are. So CNBC covered it as well, essentially launching its alternative to a stablecoin. So it's not a stablecoin, it's alternative to a stablecoin, and I'll cover that right here. So this is a deposit token, and they're seen superior to stablecoins, okay? Because they're offering potential advantages such as interest-bearing and deposit insurance. So it's slightly different. It's not exactly a stablecoin. The advantages of this coin include that deposit tokens like JPMD could be interest-bearing in the future and covered by deposit insurance. And it all comes because of this. The Senate passes the Genius stablecoin bill, giving crypto industry first major legislative win. The Genius Act establishes the first federal framework for dollar-peg stablecoins, granting sweeping authority to the Department of Treasury and opening the doors to banks, fintechs, and retailers. So this creates a pathway for private companies to issue digital dollars with the blessing of the federal government. So a lot of people, including myself, are like, wow, okay, this needs to be highly regulated because this could turn into a bubble. I wouldn't like that. But just let me read this again. It creates a regulated pathway. So regulated, I hope they do that, for private companies to issue digital dollars. So is there going to be fractional reserve issuance of these digital dollars? These are things that I'm thinking about. The Genius Act will protect customers, enable responsible innovation, all right, and safeguard the dominance of the US dollar. The bill still faces hurdles in the Republican-held House, but passage in the Senate signals a turning point, not just for tech, but for the political clout behind it. It also opens the door to a broader range of issuers, including banks, fintechs, and major retailers looking to launch their own stablecoins or integrate them into existing payment systems. David Sachs says the U.S. Senate has passed the Genius Act, landmark stablecoin legislation that provides regulatory clarity, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I just hope that when they say it's regulated, it will be regulated. We saw what happened in 2021, 2022. There were a lot of factors that led into that bear market with crypto and also into equities. We had Three Arrows Capital, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. There were a lot of factors, including the Fed not necessarily raising rates as quickly as they should have. But nonetheless, here we are. Private companies can make their own stablecoins. So why is the market kind of not that great today? Okay. Well, it comes down to what's going on in the Middle East. That's basically it. So there's just a lot of fear going on. Trump is posting his tweets or truths on his website and talking about taking out or possibly, going after the supreme leader. People should get out of Tehran, unconditional surrender. And that is making the market, honestly, not go crazy down. Bitcoin's still at 105K, which is pretty incredible, honestly. You can see the S&P down around 0.84%. We can see the VIX up, some volatility there. Gold is actually staying pretty solid at around $3,375. I'd expect it to go higher. It was a little higher a few days ago, but it went up a lot. Now it's just kind of cooling off at this range. And we are seeing a lot of altcoins just have not great days today. This is the top 100. And it's just because there's uncertainty, right? People are uncertain. We don't know if there's going to be an escalation. We don't know what's going to happen. But like I've said before, if you are selling Bitcoin because you're scared of global tensions and war, then you need to understand more of what Bitcoin represents. So if this is scaring you and you want to sell your Bitcoin, I would encourage you to learn more about Bitcoin. And today or tomorrow, whenever you're watching this on Wednesday, there's going to be a Fed meeting and they will announce whether interest rates will be cut. But the chances of that happening basically everywhere online is incredibly low. Interest rate cut, highly unlikely, says Forbes. So taking a look over at the charts, some charts over on BTCC, where if you are a trader, you can pick up a 10% bonus on first-time deposits up to $10,055 per user using my link. It's pretty impressive that we are possibly on the cusp of a massive war. Possibly, I really, really hope not. And Bitcoin is still within 3 to 5% of its all-time high. Take a look at Solana. It's also been pretty stable here at around $150 or so. XRP down a little bit, but nonetheless, it's still above that $2 mark, which I think is a very, very good zone. Chainlink is coming back down to the range that I think has a lot of buy and sell support, as you can see going back all the way to last year. SUI, a lot of altcoins have come down a lot. It's still not down where I would want to pick some up in this range, around the $2 mark, before it had that really, really explosive growth phase back in April. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, altcoins are riskier and they're not going up as much just because there is fear and uncertainty. So until the Fed cuts rates, which a lot of people believe Powell should, and he isn't because of political reasons, and also things in the Middle East calm down and people are not so worried about that, and also inflation cools off, which it pretty much has, but the Fed still hasn't cut rates. Until all these things happen, I think people are going to be leaning more towards Bitcoin than altcoins. But I can still see a time in the near future where people pile into altcoins because it becomes very much risk on. Rates drop, things get exciting again, there's stability, and people are wanting to take out debt because it's cheaper, etc. So that is it for the video, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. Hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like this content. Till next time, talk with you soon, and bye for now.